Hi, welcome to class. It is November 5th, Thursday. What we discussed in class, if you go to Google Classroom, we're working on why did West Africa decline? With it, there's a Google Doc that you do need to read. So with this video, I'm not going to read it to you, but I am telling you, please read each and every slide. There's 8 sources, so 8 slides. What we're focusing on, what we did focus on in class was why does West Africa decline? Another fancy word for decline is just falls apart. That why did West Africa fall apart? That those kingdoms no longer exist. So what you're doing, you're looking at each and every slide and telling me what was the cause, what caused them to fall apart, and then what was the effect from it. Some of the effects are very simple, and I can give you some class examples. Some are very simple, like, oh, the next kingdom took over. But some are more impactful. So what the classes came together, the last 2 classes I had. So for source 1, and again, it's okay if you really struggle and you want to copy off of my screen, but I'm really encouraging people to try to come up with your own. Try to go back to the source and write something of your own words. The reason being is for two reasons. You will learn a lot more by doing that. If you're just copying my screen, you're going to get a good grade, but you're not going to learn anything. And then I find, second reason, when people just copy what I write, which again, I'm going to give you a good grade for that part, but this bottom part, usually I see people struggle because they don't understand anything that they typed. And then when you have to put things in your own words, that's when it really does struggle, okay? But going back up here, so that's just my little soapbox. Source 1 really talked about that Ghana declined because Ghana had so much gold that they were very boastful. They were overtaxing people. My last class talked about, that upset people because they were taxing too much. So this created jealousy that other kingdoms around them wanted to gain the gold. So people started fighting them constantly. One student wrote that Ghana became super wealthy and started competition. Other kingdom wanted their power. So when you're constantly fighting, eventually Ghana declined and fell apart. And then ultimately they became a part of the Mali Empire, which was the effect. That's what happened after. Source 2, they talked about religion, that Ghana, specifically with Ghana, that Ghana got really torn apart because people in the north were trying to promote them to convert to Islam. And eventually their people, and we called them, in the reading, it's called the Susu, that eventually the Susu is going to leave. So the population of Ghana is going to divide because they wanted to convert to Islam. The Islamic king did not, or the king of Ghana did not want that. And it's going to divide them. And again, the effect that comes from that is Mali Empire again is going to step up and take over. Source 3 talked about Songhay, which is the 3rd kingdom in West Africa, that they were weakened by political struggles, that internally their government wasn't so good, and so they really fell apart. And then again, invaders, that people in the north, particularly Morocco, are going to be constantly invading them. So notice there is a theme, and I'm going to get to that in a second, that you kind of hear the same information. So the lasting effect from that is constantly fighting for gold. That the reading doesn't specifically say that, but we can make an inference, which is an educated guess, that for future empires, it's always going to be a struggle when you have lots of gold, which is true even now. Countries that have a lot more resources tend to be the ones fighting a lot more. Source 4, we talked about Mansa Musa again, that Mansa Musa was this excellent king. Everyone generally loved him. That when Mansa Musa and his legacy, his children died off, eventually people were going to start fighting because they were used to having a good leader. And once he passed away, bad leadership stepped in. Borders were eventually weakened. So once they lost their true good king, Songhay is going to take over. Source 5, this one talked all about technology. Moroccans had better weapons for war. So Songhay is going to fall apart primarily because there were better weapons. The effect on this is true even for now, that the country that has the best weapons usually wins the war. And I gave the example in class today that even it's true even with America. A lot of countries don't go to war with us because they're afraid of our nuclear bombs. And that's same with other countries. So whoever has the best weapons always usually wins. Source 6, insufficient leadership. Source 6 is a word jumble. It's a bunch of names because this person took over, then this person took over, and then this person took over. And mainly because of family, that they were constantly fighting with their own family. The long-term effect for this is going to show that just because of family, that doesn't mean good leadership. That it was kind of a shift in history for West Africa, that they realized, hey, let's stop giving kings just because their son and their son and their son. So eventually they're going to kind of break away from that for a while, that you can be a good leader without being related to someone. That family isn't always the answer. Source 7 is going to talk about Songhay, that they constantly were having civil wars, which means their government was falling apart. Their trade routes were slowly being taken over. Nomads were constantly attacking. Songhay became more powerful, and they were being attacked by Moroccans. Songhay rises to power. When a kingdom has a lot of problems, it's easier for them to fall apart. So Source 7 was really showing this idea that when you have a lot of internal problems, such as government, your trade routes are suffering, you're getting attacked constantly, eventually you're going to fall apart. Source 8 was kind of a repetition, but again, ineffective leaders, civil wars, lots of fighting within families, that families were trying to fight each other to take over. They eventually lost a lot of land. Morocco, again, had better weapons. Ultimately, this is going to end West Africa, that Morocco is going to take over, and we are done with West Africa. For this last task, again, this is probably worth the most points. So please spend the most time on it. You are writing a paragraph explaining how does West Africa fall apart. So you can go back through these. You can read through your sources. Notice a lot of these things were repetition. And that's kind of what I've been telling the class, that you're going to write about stuff that repeats itself. For example, constant fighting. So one reason West Africa fell apart was constant fighting. So if I were to say that constant fighting, I would go back and say, for example, in source 1, there was constant fighting over the gold for Ghana, and use specific examples. A full paragraph needs to be 5 to 7 sentences. Lastly, your other big assignment is this web quest. With this, all the questions are pretty easy. If you get really stuck on it, use your Google, search up the questions. A web quest, so these blue links that I give, if you click on the link, it should pop up with a website. The questions go in order, okay? Again, if this reading is too hard, you can't find it in the reading, use Google and search it up. My last class realized most of these questions repeat themselves, and most of this we have covered in class. So hopefully it shouldn't be too difficult for you to do. Whenever you see a new blue link, that means you're using a new website. Okay, so for these question 12 and 13, I would use that. And if you keep scrolling down, so Kingdom of Mali, I now use that website. So whenever you see a new blue link, that means you switch websites. And that'll help you find answers a lot easier. And that is pretty much it. Just please make sure you write a full paragraph. Please don't forget the web quest. And also do not forget your quote of the days. I'm getting a lot of people that are not answering the second question. Please make sure you're answering the second question. If you get stuck, please do not put I don't know. Please email me. Please use Google and search up the answers. Please watch, hopefully you're watching this video to help you get some of those answers. But I'm not accepting any more IDK. Okay, email me if you need any help. That's it. Bye.